is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 387 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to our guest, Meg Robertson. We're going to be talking about achieving work-life balance for entrepreneurs. Meg is actually a friend in real life. She is a fellow dance mom, an atypical dance mom, I would say, just like how I kind of categorize myself. But we have spent many a weekend watching our daughters perform and have come to realize that we had a lot in common. So I was really excited to be able to have her on the podcast and be able to share her knowledge about work-life balance. You guys, make sure that if you haven't already taken advantage of the discount that you are offered for insiders, that you do so. You're getting 40% off as podcast listeners. And with insiders, you get a live training done weekly via Zoom, where I'm giving you the latest strategies that are working right now. We also do a monthly group coaching call where you can ask any questions that you have within your business, and I can dive deeper and give you next steps. So it gives you accountability and a path to know that you need to go on. All right, let's dive into this episode. Hi, Meg. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I am so excited to have this conversation about achieving work-life balance for entrepreneurs, especially since I know you in real life, which is a rare occurrence. I feel like all my people that I normally have on my podcast are normally people that I've met virtually and haven't actually met in person. But you and I have daughters that danced together for a very long time at their old studio and now dance together at their new studio. Yeah. So we have
Who would have ever guessed? I would have never imagined that for myself, but I love being a mom of a dancer. So
yes, we're not the typical dance moms. We're the typical dance moms that like stand off in the corner and look at everyone like, oh, what are we supposed to be doing? So I'm so excited. All right. So let's get started. Will you actually introduce yourself and your business to my audience?
Absolutely. My name is Meg Robertson and my business is Meg Robertson Coaching. And I've been operating as a coach since 2016.
And in your coaching, what do you kind of cover with your clients?
So I have a wide variety of clients. I range between business coaching, executive coaching, and life coaching. I'm a co-active CPCC certified coach. And so I kind of dance in between both worlds, which I love because it offers a variety.
Yes. And I think it pulls from your personal experience and what you have done and where you've taken your business. So I love it.
Yeah. I got into coaching because I was a nonprofit leader and I worked with a coach, and she made some of my executive decisions a lot more palatable to me. That, you know, when you're letting people go or doing things that are really emotionally difficult, it's helpful to have support and guidance and an outside opinion on how to make things align. And so I got into coaching to be like her, with the idea that I'd coach only nonprofit leaders. But the business has spread, as you know, it's a lot of word of mouth and referrals. And so now I have C-suite and physicians, attorneys, a wide variety, which makes it really interesting and fun for me.
Yes, so good. All right, so let's jump into what are some work-life balance examples for entrepreneurs?
Well, I have the thing called the Wheel of Life that it's a tool that a lot of coaches use that I use with my clients because I think it's a great way to see that life is about more than just work, right? And it's so if people Google Wheel of Life, the examples will pull up, but I'll just talk you through it briefly. It's divided into 8 slices. One is health, one is money, one is career, one is friends and family, one is personal growth, significant other, fun and leisure, and home environment. And when clients come to me, I actually have them fill out the Wheel of Life first because they might be making a really big business decision. But if their health is failing or their marriage is crumbling, like the timing of things is really critical to making big steps and leaps or to outsource something, right? Like if your health is failing, can you outsource more of your business? So I have them fill out the wheel of life so I can see where all areas of life are really firing on all cylinders and the ones that are kind of struggling. And then we kind of set up some goals and things that they can take on in the couple weeks ahead until we meet again to bring the lowest numbers to a higher number range. Does
Okay.
that make sense? It's
Yes.
hard to see without the visual.
No, I'm picturing a wheel like you had
Yeah.
sent over to me to take a look at and having those items. And I think, you know, when we think about when we hear the word balance, I think that that's the hard part for a lot of people is they feel, is that even possible?
Yeah.
What's your take on work-life balance? Like, is it
And I-
always going to be balanced perfectly? Like we think of like a balance beam going straight across and that
right.
everything's getting equal opportunity or attention, equal attention. What would you think?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that because if you look at the wheel of life, it's 8 different slices of pie, right? And they're all equal. But we know as entrepreneurs, you and I are both entrepreneurs, that that is not attainable. And so there are times when your work slice of your pie is probably going to take up 75%, and it will do that for 2 or 3 days. Or if you're traveling to speak at a conference or something. And then there's other times where it shrinks. I'm a cancer survivor, and I got to tell you, I wasn't growing my business when I was trying to get through some other things. And
Yes.
so, it's pain. That's why it's important to me to pay attention to all the different slices of the pie. The other reason is because a lot of entrepreneurs make their business part of their identity, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if you love your business. But when it comes time for retirement becomes exceptionally painful because that's kind of all of who you are. So if you can focus on other things like fun and leisure or personal growth, I'm taking a pottery class, then when I retire someday, I'm going to have this rich, full, beautiful life that includes things other than coaching, and it wouldn't be as painful. Although I love
Yeah.
what I do so much, I don't know that I'll ever retire. I'll probably take a client a day for the rest of my life.
And I understand that. And I feel like a lot of people listening can identify themselves that way. They see themselves as entrepreneurs that are successful, that they're doing this because they love it. Because being an entrepreneur isn't something that's easy, right? It's an up and down roller coaster ride. And if you can't kind of push through those lows and keep going with the highs, it can be really difficult. So I think it's that kind of like, I always look at it as almost like a pendulum swing that sometimes my attention has to be on my family. When COVID happened, oh my
100%.
word.
Right.
Right. And that was kind of the eye opener for me was COVID just kind of like really made me look at, okay, how can we kind of, plus you're also dealing with everyone being in the house and it all being relationship and you're used to having your own thing and having your time. And when it was all put together, it was a lot.
Right, exactly. And there are other times and seasons. If a parent is going into hospice, it might not be the best time to launch a new product line. So, part of it is just trying to find the dance and the timing and being sensitive and giving yourself grace when you can't do all things for your business.
Yes. And I think that is it, right? A lot of us that are entrepreneurs, we identify not only as that, but also we see our business success as our own. Like that's how we're
Correct.
justifying who we are and what we're doing. And it's not even necessarily to the outside world, it's intrinsically. That's how we decide that we are valuable.
Mhm.
And that can be really hurtful when a time like this comes, like you said, hospice, going through when we did with COVID, any of those types of things.
Exactly. And so having people know that their worth is not their paycheck, right? And they're worthy, period. And the paycheck is a reflection of what they're adding to the world and all those things. But really being able to give yourself grace when you need to step away and not go full throttle.
Okay. So, what are some tips that you can give for work-life balance? Like, how do we set this up?
I think one of the things with coaching is just being intentional about the decisions you're making. And so I think often entrepreneurs get stretched really thin and do all the things and get really busy. And so they start doing all the things, but not being intentional about why they're doing things. occasionally I talk about energy levels and like what part of your business is fueling you and giving you energy and what parts of your business is depleting you. And if there's, if you love coaching, but you hate sending invoices, then outsource the invoices, right? Like there are ways to find the work-life balance where you can outsource the parts of the business that are draining or exhausting so that you have more to give the other parts of your life. Um,
Yes.
that's one of my greatest tips is people really struggle, I've found, to let go of certain things. And so, especially if your business is going to grow, you're going to have to let go of certain things because you can't do all the things and continue to grow and operate. I mean,
Yes.
you and I were just talking about that, the other day before the call about how at some point you've got to figure out different ways to do things to scale up.
Right. Yes. And I love that you're talking about doing it based on energy because
Uh-huh.
that's like kind of falls into zone of geniuses, right? Knowing what it is that really lights you up so that you
Yep.
can not lose energy on doing little things. And I think sometimes for entrepreneurs, it takes some time to figure out what that is, especially if they're newer and they're trying to figure out all of the pieces that go into their business, especially if they're running an online business where it constantly changes and we're always dealing with algorithm updates. So you have
Uh-huh.
to stay on top of things and know that someone you're hiring is actually doing the right steps to continue to move your business forward in
Exactly.
whatever that avenue is. So if you hand off social media or you hand off Pinterest or you hand off your writing on your website, is that person going to be able to make it valuable and worth the return on investment? So my next question is, since we
And to
kind of
make
talked,
sure, here's the other thing, entrepreneurs need to make sure they don't outsource things that bring them joy. Like the whole point of being an entrepreneur is doing what you love. And so while it might be more cost effective to farm something out, if you love doing that item, keep it for yourself. That's what you got into the business for.
right. Yes. Yeah. No. And like you said, your coaching piece of being one-on-one with people is what really lights you up. And my question to you was time and money and how can you continue to be able to do that? And you said it was very obvious to you. You obviously run through this yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Being able to
exactly.
say,
I mean, the other
that's what
tool that
lights
I've
me up.
used over the years is I'll have people just take out a blank sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle of the paper. On the left side of the paper, start writing down things you love. If you love going to the movies, if you love riding your bike, if you love reading books, whatever it is that you love, put them on the left side of the paper. On the right side of the paper, start writing down the things you do every day. If nothing on the left side of the paper is also on the right side of the paper, you need to start adjusting some things in your life, right? So that you're doing things you love every single day of your life. Because we only have one shot at this. We don't get around two. We might as well do what we're loving. So.
Yes, I love that exercise. So smart. So, how would we go about setting boundaries between work and personal life when running their own business?
Yeah. Um, I have a pretty hard line on that. Like when I'm on spring break with my family, I'm not taking work calls or anything else. I'll let people know ahead of time, this is my time to unplug for the week. And so really most of the boundary setting that I encourage people to do is about communication. Communicate with them a week or two ahead of time, saying you're going to be unavailable during this time and really use that to recharge. That also goes for if there's certain hours of the day. If you want to be present with your kids from 4 to 8 p.m., then let your clients know I'm not accessible between this time and this time. I'm really blessed and fortunate that I don't have to book a lot of evening or weekend clients. I haven't worked a weekend in quite some time. I can't even remember. And so because if I look at my list of core values, my number one, and the top priorities for me are my family, not how much money I can generate. And so, and I love my clients, but my family is still first. And so it's sort of prioritizing your time frame around your core values and your priorities.
Hey there, guys. My name is Melanie from Mostly Under Control, and I am a member of Jenny's Influencer Entrepreneurs Insiders membership. I've been a part of it since 2017, and over these 6 years, I've taken full advantage of the weekly trainings that Jenny offers and the monthly group coaching. The group coaching is probably my favorite part of the membership. Jenny has taught me so many things for my business. She helped me niche down and write and teach about what I wanted so that I wouldn't burn out. In addition to what she teaches, the networking I've done with other members has been invaluable. I recommend her membership to all of my online business owner friends because it is worth every single penny.
Yes, I love that. I really think that that is a big piece. And I love that you talked about core values because I think we sometimes get away from that. We set these really big, audacious goals and are willing to just hustle past it without realizing the reason behind why we started being an entrepreneur in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I love hiking. I've hiked half the Appalachian Trail. And there was a 6-year period of my life where I just didn't really hike. I was busy. I was a young mom and had all the things going on. And when I was working with a coach and I realized that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm marking out on my calendar that I have at least 2 hours in the woods every week. And so that's time that's earmarked. Now, sometimes that's riding my bike instead of hiking in the woods, but it's earmarked on my calendar, and no client's going to take that time away from me. And quite frankly, I show up as a better coach because I'm taking care of myself and I have more to give out. If you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Oh, it schedules into my calendar every single day that I work out from 8 to 9, and there is no interruption of that. That is the way that we do things around here because otherwise I'm a crazy person.
Right.
I am just better when I have had a chance to just blow off some steam and kind of get my head around not thinking about anything else, not thinking about the business, but I'm just feeling my body and doing the things that are going to be able to keep me moving. So
Yeah. And I've actually often found that sometimes when I am out cycling, I'm kind of in this other meditative state. And that's where sometimes the ideas for how to grow my business come to me, even though I'm not really intentionally setting that intention when I go out for the bike ride. It's like giving yourself the white space to dream and to grow and do things you love to recharge yourself. So
yes, it's being recharged that can make that difference too. If we're always running ourselves ragged, it's very difficult to have any sort of creativity come in. And when you do
exactly.
shut it off, that is when it seems to be the best ideas that jump into you.
At the risk of sounding crazy, I give quote unquote homework assignments to different clients. And um, I've had a client, I also have a lot of like attorneys that work crazy billable hours, things like that. Sometimes a homework assignment is, I'd like you to lay in a hammock for 15 minutes every night. And they're like, what? I can't do that. I gotta feed my kids and get them to this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, really, this is the homework assignment. You need to lay and be still for 15 minutes in nature. And it like blows their mind. But when they come back and report what's happening when they're doing that, it's transformative because they haven't given themselves the breathing space to just be for a while. And in the co-active model of coaching, we talk about the doing and the being. And I feel like Americans, especially, not so much in some other countries, but we're such hardwired doers right now, trying to prove that we miss some of just the being.
Yeah. So what are some signs that we may be out of balance and how can we course correct to kind of regain equilibrium?
Well, again, it would come back to that wheel of life and to pay attention to when, if you feel like, 80 hours of your week are going into your job, and you start telling yourself that your job is so that you can provide for your family but you're ignoring your family because you're pouring more into your job than your family. Like those are great awarenesses. And honestly, I have people do that wheel of life like almost every 30 days because things change all the time. Not even in a planned way sometimes, right? Like in 2019, I'm an Ironman finisher. In 2020, I'm diagnosed with cancer. My health went from a 10, whoop, and so at certain times, just certain areas need more attention. And so kind of reevaluating and checking in every 30 days or so with yourself. And with different tools, and just the awareness of what's resonating in your body and what's causing dissonance. If you're awake every night at 2 a.m., like anxious about work, then we got to pay attention to what's going on in your body that's causing that much dissonance. And if you're sleeping really well and things are resonating, then you're in a great place with business and you can put more into other things.
For me, I noticed that I was forgetting things. That to me was my signal that something's not right. At the time, I was maybe 35, 38, and I was forgetting things like I was 65. I couldn't remember if I had turned off the stove, where I had left my keys. It was because my mind was constantly going. And it was when I was a full-time teacher, also working a side hustle, and I had a newborn. The second one, that was a surprise. We also had a toddler at the time. And
Right.
it was so out of whack.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to make adjustments that you don't necessarily want to make, but they're required for your mental health, right? Like when you said that about having an infant and all the things going on at one time, I got married, promoted, and pregnant and became a stepmom in like a 3-month period of time, surprisingly. And so when you have that many life changes, and sometimes that could happen if you're losing a parent, or there are so many other life changes, um, you just really need to pay attention and make some shifts. So
Yes.
I dropped out of grad school, which was hard to do at the time because I was really close to getting the piece of paper. But for my mental health, it was the right decision. I needed to be a mom and be successful at my new promoted position at this nonprofit and, pay attention to other things. So,
Yes. No, absolutely. So, what would you say are the long-term benefits of prioritizing work-life balance as an entrepreneur?
I would say joy, which sounds like a funny thing for a business talk to prioritize, but really, we only have one shot at life. And it is actually very short run that we get. I say that being in my 50s now. And so making sure that we're super intentional about how we're spending that time and doing things that we love, instead of just I had a call once with a woman who did not become a client. I always do chemistry calls to make sure I think we're going to
Yes,
connect.
same.
And she kept telling me that she couldn't do anything she enjoyed because of the business. And she wouldn't do anything she enjoyed until the business was success. Like she was so hyper focused in this one area. And I just felt like it wasn't going to be a good coaching fit because I couldn't get her to wiggle free from that piece of the pie. Um, I believe everybody's a healthy, happy, whole, resourceful, creative being on their own, and to live into all those spaces. If you love creating and you're over here running operations and you never get to play in the creative space, then you're selling yourself short of what your natural gifts and talents are. So it's kind of finding ways to lean into the gifts and talents and stay away from the things that drain you.
Yes. Oh, I could not agree more. I think for me, the biggest thing that I noticed that I was doing in my business, and COVID in this way was a blessing because hosting a conference. When I used to host a conference here in Charlotte, I would go into, it was almost like I was hungover for a week afterwards without having drank a drop of alcohol the entire time. I
Yeah.
was just, because I'm such an introvert and I don't like all the details. I'm your visionary. And I was having to deal with all of the little details and also be social and on for 3 days straight. And then when COVID happened and we had to cancel 2 weeks prior, it was such a blessing. It was like a sense of relief for me
Uh-huh.
to realize I am not meant to do big, large conferences like that. I'm going
Yep.
to keep it to my intimate groups. And just recently decided I'm dipping my toe back in the water of doing in person, but I'm keeping it to a retreat.
Small.
6
Yeah.
women,
If it's
that's
smaller.
it. I don't want anyone else.
Yeah. And I mean, that is a primary example of how something was causing dissonance in you. And you gutted through it a couple times and then you listen to it and you're like, wait, this is causing so much dissonance in my body. Like my body's shutting down. And by the way, I've done the exact same thing. I did this North Carolina conference that left me completely drained and exhausted. And I'm an extrovert, but still being responsible for over 100 people and all of their meals and all of their workshops and all of the things can be exhausting. So
Yeah.
I
I just want to teach. I don't want to deal with anything else. I just want to be up there and teach and help you do the things. I do not want to worry about where you have to stay and how you're going to get here and the meals you're going to eat. And if you're gluten-free or vegan, it's just too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
So good. Meg, where are the best places to connect with you so that if my audience has a question or they get involved with the services that you offer?
Yeah. My website is Meg Robertson Coaching. So that's an easy way to find more information about me. If somebody wanted to contact me directly, they could email me at Meg at Meg@macvianpartners.com. Or my phone number is 704-502-5145. And I'm kind of old school and like Bob Goff. I don't know if you've ever read any of Bob Goff's books, but he publishes his phone number in the back of every book that he writes. And he's a national bestseller, but I like being accessible. So if anybody wants to send a text, I'm open to that.
Excellent. We are going to make sure that that's all in the show notes so that they can make sure that they do get in contact with you. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to speak with me and share your knowledge with my audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Of course. All right. Clearly, I could have continued to speak with Meg for the rest of the day if I had to. We actually stayed on quite a bit afterwards as well, in case you were wondering. But I hope that you really got a ton of knowledge from hearing us talk about the Wheel of Life, how you can really start to look at making sure that you are prioritizing your values in your business so that you feel the joy that you deserve in your life and from your business. All right, you guys, until next time, I will see you all then.